Is there any sort of like biggest trends or issues that you've seen, especially over the last, I don't know, couple of years in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of big things happening in the world of work that has exacerbated this problem around our ability to communicate clearly, succinctly, and often with the people that we work with. There's a couple of things. One is the hybrid environment. So obviously, as a result of the pandemic, we moved online. So think about it. That exacerbated and amplified two things. One's ability to communicate well,
Mm.
one's inability to communicate well. If you
Mm.
were a great communicator and connector, a fabulous orator with amazing gravitas in a meeting room, that translated into the camera, right? Because you knew how to engage and interact. If you didn't have those skills in the workplace, you definitely didn't have them online. And so there was an even greater divide between those that could communicate well and those that couldn't. Added to that is that we now have 5 generations in the workforce. 5
Wow.
generations. Now, you think about this. I think we're kind of like squeezed in the middle at the moment, but if you think about those 5 generations and how we communicate and the impact on communication, simple things like saying, could you get that done early? Now, what does early mean for a boomer? What does early mean for Gen X? What does early mean for Gen Z? I mean, I can't even begin to imagine. Early might be like, you know, when I get to it, or when I'm feeling most inspired. I don't know, but I guarantee our listeners have very clear opinions about the divide in how we communicate, because you think about language. Language is a representation of meaning. It is not the truth, right? If I say, can you pass me the apple? And you pass me an apple fruit, I say, no, pass me the apple. I mean the Apple computer. What's the truth in that, right? So it's all about interpretation and an exchange of meaning. The more we've got different generations in the workforce, the more we've got different channels in the way that we communicate, the more layers we add to that act of decoding and interpreting what people are talking about.
I love it, and I've been speaking about it a lot through Cuppa. Like, I feel like, and we all know love languages in relationships, our personal relationships. I feel like we've now got all these different bloody connection languages. Like, I can call people and I get their message back saying, hey, I don't listen to my messages, just text me. Then you've got people that are best on email and they don't want to deal in person. Then you've got people that love in person. It feels like it feels like as a society, we have all these different connection languages now, and it's just feels like it's becoming harder to break through the silos.
Yeah, I think that's a really astute observation, my friend, and I like this.
Well, I have been doing this for a while.
And you may run a little something around having Cuppa conversations. I mean, I don't know, but this idea of, you know, borrowing the metaphor of the love languages, you know, we sort of understand what that means. And you're right, we are definitely changing. We know the new generation coming in doesn't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to pick up the phone. Like, stuff like that blows my mind. You know, we don't want to have a meeting. We don't want to do face-to-face. We are starting and ending relationships via the phone. No communication, just text messages. Like, this is the stuff that really boggles my mind. But what I do know is that in terms of trends, regardless of, you know, some of the barriers and some of the context going on with communication, what we do know to be true, and this actually came out recently in the Global HR Trends report that Deloitte releases every year, they showed that organizations with higher worker involvement, i.e. conversations, collaborations, co-creating, so they're talking, communicating, 1.8 times more likely to be highly engaged as a workforce. So, you know, regardless of what's going on with the way we're communicating, we know that we need to be communicating.